Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us tonight. We have an awesome show. If you're live with us, please help share. Let us know where you're watching us from. We'll get started here in a couple of minutes.
I'm so fuzzy. Tonight's my turn to be fuzzy, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. Are you? I mean, you're fuzzy on my screen, but
Yeah, I'm fuzzy on
let me see. If you guys have been following along my journey of redecorating my room, you all will know that it's been quite fun. It's been a struggle, but it's also been a awesome process. And so, um, as I was buying stuff and trying to like furnish my room, Callie's like, "Why don't we have your designer come on and talk to us?" And so I reached out to Coua, and she was so awesome, saying yes. I think a lot of times people kind of they get scared working with someone, and or they may think it's really expensive and you can't afford it, but there are ways to kind of approach it to where it is affordable and make it fun and different. There are options out there, and so we have Kwa on with us. We're super excited for her to kind of just share a little bit about what she knows and what she does with all of you. I did put out a video, God, I think like last week, of one section of my bedroom that is now completed, and you all have helped me kind of furnish it by helping me pick out like my top 3 picks and stuff. And it's been really, really fun to kind of see it come together. I definitely feel like waking up and making my bed. I was telling Kwa this that when I wake up, I want to make my bed because when I I work in my bedroom, I have a desk. And so when I look over, the bed is nice and neat and organized, and it just makes me feel so much better. And I want everybody to kind of feel that because that's a new feeling for me. So um, tune in if you guys are interested to kind of know some designer tips of what you can do to kind of just umph up your room a little bit, or your dining room or your living room or whatever space that you have. But we've got Cool here. She's going to be talking to us about all of that good stuff. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Let us know where you're watching us from. If you're live with us, help share this as well. Tag a girlfriend or a guy friend if they need a little bit of help in their space, and that they would benefit from this conversation. So it'll just be a second while Callie's sharing before we get started here. Hi, Gal. How are you? Oh, Peachy Her says, "Love your remodeled room." Thank you. It Kua definitely did a wonderful job. It helped me really see kind of like the placements of furniture, and it was really all of you guys who helped me kind of decorate it with the different furniture pieces. And I tried to go as closely as I can to what Kua's designs were, but man, it is hard buying furniture, y'all. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but like I was like, I think the only thing that was like very like exact to her picture were my lamps. I think that was like the only thing. I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so hard to find something that is like super exact." And then like I found the dresser as well that was like exact, but oh my god, it was like cheap little laugh for Elu. I was like, I can't afford that. So I think it's just really like having it be fun, finding something that is aligned with your style, but also kind of like what the design is. And I think for me, it was really like furniture placements of like what furniture pieces are really important to kind of make the room feel more homier. That's what I was really looking for. But yeah, it's been fun. And I loved reading all of the comments on the different numbers that you guys think would look best. And I try to go and be like, okay, which one had a higher pick than the other? And honestly, like I kind of just went by both. I went by what you guys picked out, and then also the dollar amount it costs, because trying to like put everything together. I think overall, I think all the furniture pieces and like different accessories that I've purchased, it was like under $750 for the bedroom. And so I think just really making sure that you buy within your means and not outside And at your pace too.
Yeah, and I like because you did this like pretty darn fast. Like I felt like it was just
Yeah.
like oh it's done. I'm like holy cow! Like you moved on it really fast. But I think through like Kua's like guidance too, and just like your vision of it, and you wanting to really turn the space because like you said, like your space really does dictate how you feel. Like when you wake
Yeah.
up, if it like feels authentic to you and feels like a beautiful space and you want to get up and have have more energy and things like that, but when it's like kind of drabby or things aren't really like what you're feeling, then I feel like that does take away from your energy too. And so but you definitely did push that transformation out really fast, and it's absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that we're going to talk about as well, is like
Mhm.
just like what pieces to invest in, right? Because
Yeah.
maybe there's stuff that and because I definitely feel like a home should be beautiful, but also still fit within your budget. Like you should never, have a beautiful home and then not have any money in the bank. And so that's
Yeah.
things that we will definitely talk about too. Is like what pieces that you'll be able to,
Yeah.
that you should invest in, and what pieces would you be like, oh, it's trendy and I want it for a season, but not for always.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Mary, I do want to do a home remodel too. Actually, I feel like I think you and I probably reach out to Coua at the same time, but
Oh, did we?
I'm like super indecisive. Because I think like, cool. Like I sent an email out to her because I was like, oh my gosh, like I really need to like do something. And I don't know if when I talked to Coua, she was like, oh, I'm working. I don't know if I can't quite remember, but I just somehow know that like, or
Yeah.
maybe you told me about it. I was like, oh my gosh, like I emailed her too. I just
Well,
had on it.
yeah, like I had reached out to Coua like when she wasn't doing virtual. And I was like, darn it. Like I remember you were like, have you followed this girl? Like she does such amazing stuff. I'm like, no, I don't know who she is. I haven't followed her. And then I found her and I started following her. And I'm like, oh my God, I love all the cute little things she does. Cause that was what I was still really into, like the farmhouse style. And her home is really farmhousey. And I'm like, I really like this. I like that. And so I had reached out to her. She's like, sorry, Olivia, I don't do like long distance relationships. I was like, oh man, I was so sad. So I was just kind of like, whatever, I'll get to it when I get to it. So I continue with my journey of Pinterest, having that be an inspiration, and obviously it didn't really work. But because again, it's free. But when you pay for something, right, you're like, God damn, like I paid all this money, I have to do it. Otherwise, it would just be a waste, and I don't like being wasteful. So
I definitely feel like having someone like giving you the attention helps you to like figure out, because I think sometimes like you see stuff that you like, but then in your space maybe like it doesn't feel right to you. And I think that that's where I get hung up. Is like I'll see like different types of homes, like different styles, and love them all, but then it's just like, but like could I live in that space and feel like this is my space,
yeah,
this feels like who I am, right? Because they're also different. So
yeah.
definitely want to explore that with her.
Yeah, it's been fun, but we'll have Coua come on and answer all of our crazy questions we've got for her. And if you've got questions for her as we're talking to her, please make sure you put them in the comments. Callie and I will try to grab them and have her answer them for you. So,
And it's okay if you're a guy in here. Like I think like if you're a bachelor, like of course you want your space to also be nice, right? Because if you bring somebody home, you want them to be like, oh, this is this guy's got style.
yeah,
But I think like home styling is really for everyone. And if you're married, I think like that's one of the things that we're going to talk about too today is like,
yes,
we have other people that live in that space. Like how do you deal with trying to decorate and keeping things like together the way you wanted,
Mhm.
while like being, accommodating to other people's style as well.
Yeah,
So, okay, well, I think we should just kind of get started. We will ask her about kind of like her story, so I won't like dive into too deeply. But of course, Coua is a home curator for CC Interiors, her company, and offers many services with home design and really like from the very beginning of just like even talking about what that would look like. And so we are going to bring her on with us.
hi, Coua.
Hi. Thank you guys for having me. It was so fun just hearing you two like banter back and forth. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get in on this. Like, yay, so excited.
Yeah, obviously, like home decor has never been like our thing. at least mine. Otherwise I wouldn't have asked for help. I love watching like HGTV and like the different shows that they have about, like real estate or just like remodeling. But like Shiloh, you're like, oh my gosh, that looks so easy. But then when you actually like go to the furniture store or you shop for pieces, it's actually super overwhelming. And so I was just really excited when you had reached back out and said, you know what, I'm actually changing it and I'm helping people virtually. I don't know what that looks like, but we can kind of figure that out. And I was so excited. I was like, yes, I have no idea what I want, but I'll take pictures, videos, whatever you want. I
Oh,
was ready.
yay! And you did so good.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like as, and maybe I'm generalizing, but I think as more people, like the way that I grew up was like decorating your home was excessive. Like it's a luxury, like we had enough money for like the necessities, right? And so it was not a thing where like I grew up where my mom was like, oh, like I want to make this pretty, I want to do, it was basically like, let's get the cheapest stuff that we can get that serves a purpose. And so I feel like because I grew up like that, I never thought about my home like as like I can make this space beautiful and I have, extra money to spend on something that I can look at every day and be like, I love this. This makes me happy. So I definitely feel like it's something that, as you like get older and then you want, then you can actually start thinking about it. But it does affect you so much. And so our first question really is, how did you get started in being a home curator? And just maybe if you can just kind of tell us your story and your journey with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started in like really loving all the home stuff back in 2017, 2018. And that is because that's when my husband and I started thinking about like kind of like the next phase in life. We're in our first home and our family was expanding. We had 3 kids at the time, and then I got pregnant. So we kind of knew we had to upgrade from our current house. So whether that was buying a new house or building, we just knew that we had to go into a different house. So we ultimately made the decision to put our house on the market. And that, when we made that decision, that's really when I had to start thinking about decorating the house to get it ready for the market. And before that time, we had lived in the house for 5 years and I never did anything with the house. Like decorating just wasn't a priority, like you're saying, Callie. Like it just like, it was like a luxury. Like I didn't think about it. So it was like one of those things that just wasn't important to me until we made that decision. Like, hey, we got to sell. And we talked to a realtor and he was like, well, then you have to get your house ready for the market so that people will actually want to come in and look at it. So when he told us that, I feel like I like naturally just jumped in and I took charge. Like the first thing I remember doing was, okay, I gotta repaint this house because our that house, it was an open concept home, but I remember there were like 3 different paint colors in an open concept room. I'm like, okay, this has got to change. This is a hot mess. And our laundry room was orange. So I'm like, okay, nope, this isn't gonna do it either. And around that time was when farmhouse was really hot. So I remember choosing like the gray color, Repose Gray by Sherwin-Williams. I just love that. I love that color still. So we started with paint, and then I remember after that, like the furniture layout, I remember switching the couches around, and I remember even just turning the dining table and adding some like curtains. And then I moved to wall decor. And again, I felt like these things came naturally to me. Yes, I definitely Pinterest and I found inspiration, and then I just went to go do it. And I just really found that I had a knack for it. And then when we built our house, I feel like that home passion, it just deepened even further. Like, oh my gosh, I really, really like this. Like, I want to keep doing it. But the funny thing about that is like after we built and after we settled in and got everything moved in, I actually decided that, you know what, that part of me, that creative side of me that really loves home stuff, I just got to shut it off for a little bit. So then for, I don't know, at least a year, I did nothing with home things. And then last year in September, I was like, no, I gotta do something again. Like I was getting the itch and like it just kept coming up coming up and coming up. So then that's when I announced, like, you know what, I'm going to help people with their homes. And here we are.
Love it. Hey, Coua, could you move your
Yeah.
camera just a tiny bit so we can see your whole face?
Oh, sorry.
There we go. A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. You're good.
You guys should have told me.
No, but we didn't want to interrupt you telling your story. I didn't
Gosh.
want to interrupt you. But I think that's great because I feel like you're right. Sometimes it comes naturally because y'all, if it was easy, like everybody would be able to do it, aka myself, right? Because I do Pinterest. I found inspiration. I'm like, yes, I love this and I love that and I love this style. But then when it came down to like putting it together and just finding pieces that worked, it was really hard for me, you know? So I love that you found something that like you love doing and it just kind of came so naturally. That's amazing. I especially with home decor because I feel like there's so many different styles.
Yeah.
So many. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think that's like the first thing, right? Like to make it easier on yourself is actually getting to know your style. And I feel like that can be the daunting thing, the overwhelming thing, because like you said, there's just so much to choose from. But remember, Olivia, I was telling you, like when I was working with you, it's like, okay, well, you're going to see a pattern in all of your pictures. And there was certainly a pattern.
Yeah. Girl, I thought I was like into certain things. And at the end, I ended up choosing like, I'm like looking over because furniture pieces, it's like, it was like nothing farmhousey for me at all whatsoever. It was like, what was it like? I looked up the style and it was more like, I forgot what it was, like modern something. I don't remember, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. But you know, I think with my room, we kind of went drastic where I like literally changed up everything in my room, right? I kind of went a little bit big on there. But what are some easy things that people can do to make their home feel homier or feel better for them? Like what are some small little things that people could do that's like cost effective or that it isn't as expensive?
So number one, clean and declutter. I feel like that is like, oh my God, like the worst freaking answer. I hate it when home decor people tell me that because it's like, oh, but it's so true. Every single time I clean, every single time I just get rid of stuff, I just feel better. So really getting that system down for you, whatever that looks like. I like to declutter like at least 4 times a year. Spring cleaning's coming up, so really purge through all of your stuff that doesn't bring you joy, like Marie Kondo says. The second thing I would say to think about is scents. I feel like how our home smells affects us. And I never really thought about that, but I'm like, you know what? You're right. Because every single time I enter a home, guess what? I smell something. So really scents. And what I like to use, I like to diffuse essential oils, but whatever floats your boat, like whether that's candles, I know people still use plugins, but whatever that is, scents always give me a sense of like home. And then the other thing is, remember the 2/3 rule. Like if you just start applying this in your home, like if something is feeling off, go back to the 2/3 rule. And the 2/3 rule is this. Let's just say you have a wall and you are going to be putting a sofa against it. That sofa needs to be taking up 2/3 of the wall. Does that make sense? Apply that into every area of your house, and it's just going to start looking like more put together. And the final thing I wrote down here is vibe.
So why 2/3? Is it just visually like appealing?
Yes. I think it's a visual thing. Like, because if you put something that's too small there, it's gonna look off. Like you guys have seen where it's like the couch is too small for a space. And you've also seen where a couch is too big. That doesn't look good either. So 2/3, it's like, it's just that magic number almost. And I use it all the time. I literally go on my calculator so that I can find the correct amount. Like I'm that kind of like that, about it, because I know that it works. I use it over and over again.
So fascinating.
And then I just have one more thing I want to say really quick about how to make your home feel better. It's buy that one thing that you keep eyeing. And I have a story about this. Like during Christmas time, there was this mirror that I wanted to put on my mantle. And like, I kept thinking about it. Like the mantle had already been decorated. And I just kept thinking like, gosh, that mirror, like I found it in the fall and I was thinking about it still into December. I'm like, God, that would look so good on it. And then I finally just went to go buy it. It was $100. I'm like, yes. And I put it up like, oh my God, it looks so good. And even now, like I'll look at it and I just smile.
Yeah.
So if there's something that you just keep looking at, like, and it's in your budget, just go buy it.
Yeah.
That's so true. I do that with clothes. Like if there's something and I try to buy something cheaper, you're never happy until, like I've done that with boots where it's just like I remember I had this Madewell boots that for like seriously 2 years. I like thought about it and finally I was like, screw it. I think it was like $200. I was like, screw it. I'm going to buy it. And I've done that. I made a regret with like a J. Crew purse that I've been wanting and I've never to this day, that's why I live the way I live now, because I was like, never am I going to let a purchase get away from me. But anyway, very true about household items.
Yeah. If you keep thinking about it, that means that you should have it.
Yeah, agree. That's right. So whatever you're thinking about, you probably. All right. So I think that a lot of times, as we were talking earlier, right, I think a lot of us grew up, not having a lot of money. And so I think that's kind of how we view like interior designer, like nowadays. It's just like geeky, or, like, it's like, who do I think I am to be, trying to be working with somebody to help me decorate when I can do something for free. But as Olivia said, and same for me, right? It's like your home is not looking the way you want it to, even though you have some money to spend. And so how much does somebody have to have in order to be able to work in interior designer? What's the budget?
So I feel like that's such a loaded question because every designer charges differently. So what is important is that you set your budget and then you go find that person that fits your budget, that meets your budget requirements.
Yeah.
Because there's so many designers out there, right? And everyone's going to charge something different.
Yeah.
And then with the budget, like, well, how the heck do I set up my budget? There's like two things that you got to think about when you're thinking about budget. Okay, there's going to be the designer fee, and then there's going to be the product cost of everything that you want to put in your room or your home, whatever that might be. So the way that I like to think about setting up a budget is first, you're going to make a list of everything that you want in your room. And then after that, you can do the next up, you can do one of two things. Like you can just start attaching prices to each item, or you can actually just do some research, like go online, see something that you like, and then just put that price down. That way you're going to get a total of all of the stuff at the end. And then as for the fee, just be reasonable. Like think about if you were doing a job for someone, like what would you like to get paid? And it's never going to be pennies. So I just hope that that's helpful. I mean, I do this process for myself. I've been working with a tax guy, and I always think about like, oh man, he's doing my taxes. Like this is his rate. Of course, I want to pay that to him because I don't want to do taxes. So I think that you can apply that to like an interior designer too. Because guess what? I don't need to hire someone to do my taxes. I could certainly do it myself, but I don't really want to.
Right. It takes like a lot more time to try to research. And I just think like when you're in a certain field, you learn like certain methodologies, like you said, the 2/3 rule, right? Like I have never heard of, so those are things that as you like are, like just get more into your field, you learn a lot of different things that, like the eyes, like kind of like I've heard about, like when you put things in threes together, it's more appealing, right? Like those are things that like, it's all right, but then you just know it's weird. I just don't know what it is, right? And so I feel like working with somebody and helping like that person kind of guiding you through like what your thought processes should be, and as you're saying this is what I'm feeling like versus not, because you could again do it yourself, but if that's not your knack for it too, it's really actually quite difficult.
Yeah, exactly. You're paying for someone's expertise, so then it's like it's doing you good in the end. Everyone wins in the end. That's how I like to think about it. For sure.
Yeah. And I think it's always like it doesn't hurt to ask for like that designer's price range too.
Absolutely.
Like if you know that you have a certain budget you want to work within, be upfront about that so then they know that so then they can be like honest about what services they can provide for you for that dollar amount, right?
Yes.
Because
exactly.
I think, like even when I worked with you, Coua, I'm like, oh, I don't know, like I've never done this before. I'm like, this is my first time. I have no idea how this works. So you just tell me like what you think you can do for me, obviously, because it's long distance. And so you can't be here to like furnish the space. But honestly, like I really have just enjoyed like purchasing and buying on my own terms and different things because I don't have like 20,000 sitting in my account to just like, hey, you know, here's 20,000, do whatever. Cause I mean, I wish I did. That would be amazing. On you know, like you can fly out here for a weekend and we can make it happen. But realistically speaking, that's not my budget. Like I can't do that. And I'm sure a lot of people out there aren't like that. Right. So I think it's like really being upfront about, you know, what you can afford. And then hopefully the designer will either work with you on the budget that you have or just say, sorry, like, you know, I mean, I'm not your person and you need to go find someone else. And that's okay too. You just have to be really honest about what you can and can't afford.
Yeah, and there's certainly I know like Havenly is a website that people can go, and I think it's like way cheaper. But again, I think it's that like how much like I don't want to say hand holding, but I also want to say hand holding like that you kind of need in the process, right? Because you can have someone who's a little bit like or a you know like because I think Havenly is a little bit more automated, I believe, you know, versus having somebody that you can be like, okay, Coua, like this is where I'm at. Like, this is what I'm feeling. This is the things that I kind of like, but maybe you can just walk me through this process so that at the end, I'm getting this vision of my house that fits and I wake up and it feels like me, you know? And so I think that that's something to consider. And, you know, I mean, I feel like working with somebody is like, I mean, you do have to like have a good, you know, relationship and feel like this person's listening to me versus like pushing, you know, pushing the latest beautiful thing onto me because they feel like this is what's, you know, what I'm gonna like, you know. And so I think feeling heard and that relationship is really important too.
Yeah, rapport is so important. I mean, you want someone that's going to understand you and is going to meet your needs because after all, like you're going to be spending some money with them. And not only that, you're going to be spending money on your house. So everything should be according to your needs. Yeah,
agreed. So what are most people's questions to you about home decorating and what do you typically suggest to them?
So I feel like when people ask me questions, it's like, does this look good? Or what do you think about this? like that's it. And they send me a picture because they just want my opinion and I'll just tell them like straight up, like yes or no, or like I would change this or I would change that. And if I'm sensing that they need more help because they're asking more questions, then I might suggest like, hey, why don't we work together? I can help you in this way.
Yeah. I can attest to that because I had sent Coua a picture of a dresser that I was redoing and I was just so unsure. Like, I'm like, I don't know if this looks good or not. Like, because it was my first time doing it. I was refurbishing an old IKEA dresser and I'm just like, I'm not really loving it. So I did take a picture of it and I sent it to Coua and she was like, maybe you need to paint it white. I'm like, okay, you're right. I did that. And it looked so much better. But I think I just needed, I think in my heart, I already knew that, but I just needed confirmation from someone else who is a professional to tell me that, you know? And then of course, like the next day, like I had paint left over from when we painted, when we built our house. So I just painted it that same white, you know, I was like, I told my husband, you got to get the paint. We got to paint it. And then we got to take it off. I'm going to redo it. So I redid it twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely having someone who's working with you opinion is very important. Okay, so when we're living with other people, whether that's in-laws, your partner, or roommates, of course you have to think about their style as well, right? Because I think everybody kind of has different styles, whether that's, you know, like different furniture pieces that might be more practical or whether you like things that are more on the stylish end. Like, how do you work together with, you know, when there's multiple people in the home that might have different styles or different needs?
So when I read this question, I was a little bit salty. I'm like, well, I don't really want to accommodate them. But you know, that's not how it goes. So I really had to sit down and like think about this. And the first thing that I came up with, like, well, you know what? I actually have to let them in on like what my plans are. So like with my husband, like he really doesn't care, but I still like tell him like, hey, I'm going to do this. Or like if I'm looking at Facebook Market, like, hey, I want to get this. And I'll like just share with him. So he just feels like included in my process. And then another thing is like, when you're buying something in the home that affects everyone, like a sofa, that's when you can really include them in the process too. Because like, for example, a sofa, like you're going to want to make sure that whatever, like it fits however many people that needs to be able to sit on there, and it's comfortable and it's right for that type of room. And then the other thing I thought about is how I would accommodate them is like, I think about like what would help them feel at home. So this, like, it made me think about my in-laws. So they helped me watch my kids here last summer, and my home still does not have any window coverings because we are out in the country. And I just remember my father-in-law, like, he put up like this like cardboard box on the window, like to block out, I don't know, to block the sun or whatever. And I'm just like, oh man, yeah, like I need to get some window coverings because that would be accommodating for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love the idea, and especially the couch thing. I feel like because sometimes you like couches that are beautiful, but maybe not practical, right? And it's
Right.
like you get a piece for your bedroom and then let the comfort kind of be for, because ultimately I think when it's a shared couch or something like that, ultimately like the most comfortable couch gets the most usage and everybody wants to sit on it more and stuff like that.
Exactly. And I think like even with my kids, like I'll let them do what they want in their room. Like they can put whatever they want in the wall, just don't destroy the room. Like you get to decorate it however you want in an enclosed space, but in the general living area where everyone is, like that's where we can be more inclusive.
Right. And like thinking even about like if you have little kids, right? And coffee table, maybe the ones with the very sharp edges might not be the best when they're little.
Exactly.
Or like glass or something like that too. Because I think especially if you have little kids, like you just be like, oh my gosh, like don't touch that, or like like feel like you have to, if you have a lot of kids over all the time, I feel like I wouldn't want to be like kind of like insecure about your home and people like touching stuff or kids messing stuff up. Like I just want to be able to I can relax, like kind of not be so uptight about certain pieces that might be more expensive or get ruined or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like it's always tough when you live with people and you have to take their style into consideration. But I think like you, Coua, I just tell my husband, I'm like, I kind of like this thing and I want to do it. But like even when we did the walls, like I'm like, this is what I want. This is what I want. And it was hard for him to see it. I'm like, YouTube it so you know how to do it. And then like literally once I got the designs from you, I was like, we're going to Home Depot. Like we got back. Yeah. So we got back from Fresno, caught COVID. And we had to like, we went and got the supplies and then tested positive. I'm like, we have a whole week. So we just got to like do it, So we literally did it. We literally put the things up and then we painted it within 2 days. It was fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Like, I love that because it's like, that's what inspiration can do. Like just being able to see it and visualize it. And I think that's why it's so cool to be able to work with someone to help you with your home, because then you can see it and then you know how to take the action.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like it's different when you get inspiration from like Pinterest, right? Versus like if it was created and tailored,
customized, personalized.
Yeah. But even like when you like sent me the designs and I showed it to my husband, he was just like, oh yeah, cool. It wasn't like he wasn't as excited as I was, right?
Yeah.
But as for like in-laws, I feel like, and I had this issue too, and I was really glad that Callie asked this question, and hopefully I can kind of share like my thoughts on it, and hopefully it'll help someone else. But that was my exact problem that I had with my living room, and I think just in talking to Coua about it, she created something where it's like not super like I had issues with walls, and she was like, you don't have to put your family pictures up there. Right. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about that, because it's like, I don't put my family pictures because then what about his family and his sisters and his brothers? I'm like, we don't have any pictures together. So I don't know what to do with these like big wall spaces I have in my house. And Kua's like, you don't have to put your family pictures up there. And I'm like, I don't know why I just didn't think of that, you know? So I think it's just like little things like that.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but it was like ding, 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 ding. I don't know what I was thinking. All right. So for those on a budget, what are some cheap or even free styling tips that you can provide?
Okay, so we already talked about the 2/3 rule, and then we already talked about Pinterest. So if you don't have Pinterest, make sure you download that, start pinning, and get inspiration. And then I also love just going on Instagram. Like the Instagram home community is amazing. Like go on there. Facebook Market. If you're not Facebook marketing, you are totally missing out. And thrift stores. Like I feel like I like shopping at those places even more than like the Target dollar spot, because I'm always looking. I want those unique items that nobody else really has.
Yeah.
So I love Facebook Market and thrift stores. And then the other thing you can do is recycle, upcycle, reuse, reconfigure what you have. So I recently redecorated my hutch that I have. And what I did was I put all of my stuff that I wanted to use on a table so that I can like see everything together. And just by doing that, it just helped me think of like new configurations of like, this can go together, this can go together. And then after I had that, it was just so much easier to buy like filler things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that a lot. Because I feel like when you can see what you have to work with, you have a better idea of, and that's why cleaning and decluttering is so important, right?
Yes, exactly. And then that also helps with like when you actually go to the store, you're not so overwhelmed because you're like, okay, I know that I'm looking for this specific thing. Versus if you go to the store and you don't really even have a list, like you just spend hours just looking at stuff and don't buy anything.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I get overwhelmed. I'm like, I'm going back home. All right. So those who are minimalist, sometimes I think when people think about home designing, they think, oh, now I have to like add all this thing, buy all these new things. And so for the minimalist, how can they still cultivate a home that feels like authentic to their style and their lifestyle?
So I think first thing you have to do is you have to define what minimalist means to you, because there's just so many definitions out there. And like when I think of minimalist, I always think of like there's just not a lot there. Like it's like almost like black and white. Like, okay, a couch chair and the side table and like that's it. Like there's just not a lot of stuff. But that's not really what it means to me. That's just the picture that comes into my head. For me, minimalism means like just everything in my house has a home. That's minimalist to me. But then you have to define what it means for you and then just start living by it. And when you're doing that, then your home is cultivated.
Yeah.
And probably, like you said, like every piece kind of serves like a purpose. So then I feel like then you really put thought into those pieces, right? Like all those pieces are pieces that you really love and enjoy seeing.
Exactly.
Because if you're minimalist and all your crap is like crappy, then I feel like you're so angry all the time.
Right.
Like, darn, I have 2 pieces of furniture in there. I was like,
Yeah. I must say like the whole cleaning and decluttering. I feel like that has helped me become more minimalist than what I was before. Right? Because we thought, like, when we tore our house down, we had to like pack everything. And then when we the house was ready to be moved, like for us to move back in, we just purchased like your basics to kind of like your dining table and your couches. And then, I went through all of the pots and pans and dishes, and I put all the ones that like had a matching set. That's what I have in my house. And then the ones where it's like, there's this design, there's like 2 plates of this design and 3 plates of that design. I like put that in a box and like, that's going to the freaking Goodwill. Like I want nothing to do with that. Mm-hmm. And I think there are still stuff in the garage that my husband's like, when are we going to take those out? And I'm like, never. we're going to load it up in the car and we're going to take it to Goodwill. I don't care what's in there, because if it was that important, it's been 2 years, I would be looking for it, right? If it was important, I would, go back and try to put it back into the house. But it's not that important. It's probably just trash. So we're not going to take it out of, the shop, and we're just going to load it up and take it to the Goodwill. And I'm so glad that we didn't, because then it gave me the opportunity to work with Coua to just make it look so much better. And like everything has a purpose. And I love that, that there's no, like, even my desk, I was even inspired to clean it after I did that.
I love this. Like decluttering. So I have this tip for decluttering that I actually don't use, but it's, so basically this is a tip that I have tried to live by. Again, you try it at your own risk. But basically what I've heard is that you basically take a box and you put all the stuff that you feel like you don't need into the box, and you set it up somewhere where you don't see it. And then 6 months later, if you don't look for anything in that box, you throw it away. The problem that has caused me a lot of clutter is that I'm like, oh, I wonder what's in that box. I look at it, I'm like, oh, I might need this.
Oh my goodness.
But if you can exercise enough discipline and don't look in the box, just toss the box away, I think it does help, because it is hard to let go. Because I feel like we're raised on that idea too of like, I might need it, and then 10 years later, it's kind of sitting there just, wasting space.
I mean, Callie, if you need a place to put it, you can always come put it in the garage or in the shop here. And
well, I have a garage too. I should put it in my garage.
But then you'll see it and you'll wonder what's in the box. So if it's over here and you don't think about it, then we'll make New take it to Goodwill after 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
So funny.
All right, cool. So this is like, I feel like this is one of the really, really, really important questions, because if you have a big space or even little space, like what pieces people, like what are some of the pieces that people should focus or and invest in, or don't mind spending a lot of money on, because it's you want quality over anything else.
Absolutely. The first thing I wrote down was sofa, because you're going to be sitting on there every day, most likely. I mean, I sit on my couch every day. It's my most used piece of furniture. So that definitely needs to be high quality, and go test it out. Like, don't just, I'm like someone that I can't just buy it online. Like, I really need to see it and feel it and touch it and test it out, like see how it feels for me. So definitely a sofa. And then the other thing is a dining table and chairs, if you are into the dining table and chairs, because I don't want to be buying that over and over and over. And not only that, think about if you have young kids, then you want your table to be really durable. I know a lot of people who are like, oh shoot, we got a glass table. Well, we have young kids and now it's going to get scratched. So it's think about those types of things. I got my table, it's more, what is it? What is that word? It's like vintage. Is it vintage? I can't think of the word, but then it's if they scratch it, it doesn't matter, because it just adds to the character of the table. And then the other thing, if you have an island, get nice counter stools. My sister, her counter stools are already racked. Sorry, Kui. They were racked already, because you just wanted something to fill the space. So then you just got something cheap and quick, right? Yeah. But then they're already destroyed in less than a year, less than 6 months. So that's just money down the drain if you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree. I feel so when I got your designs and I started the sitting area, and I was like, oh, it's this camel color. I started looking on Amazon. I'm like, dang, they're all over $1,000. But I don't really know how they like you. It's I kind of want to sit on it, touch it, kind of feel if it's comfortable. And then I started to feel cheap. So then I started putting my budget at $500. And I think I even messaged Callie. I'm like, oh, I'm not ready to post this online yet. So you kind of help me out. Which one should I get? And she's like, oh, this one feels more. And then I didn't even do anything that she had, like, you know, I texted it to her, my sister, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the store. I just feel much more comfortable. And I did. I spent a little bit more money than what was in my budget, but oh my God, the couch, like I just sink in it and I love it. And it's not quite the camel color I wanted, but it does the job, you know? And so I don't regret at all, like spending a little bit more money and getting quality for sure.
I think
Right,
the
absolutely.
bed is also like really, I love my bed, and like I mean I love the mattress itself too, but I love my bed overall too, just because like you know you spend a lot of time in your bed, and so I feel like it's nice to when you go to sleep, you know, be sleeping in a comfortable thing, but then also you know a beautiful frame, and so I feel like a bed is really nice.
Yeah.
Agree.
All right, so what are 2022 home
Mm.
decor trends that you are seeing or that we're
Mm.
seeing this year?
So I am seeing like dark walls, dark ceilings, like dark is really coming back, and like black, gray, blue, like all shades of dark. Like I see that everywhere. And then I'm also seeing a lot of like abstract structural shape decor and furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Also like the round and curvy, it's like so in right now. I mean, I remember even when I built like in 2019, like I wanted everything to be straight edges, and that's already changing. It's only 2022. So it's crazy how fast like style changes, trends change. And then warm colors. And I always think about like that, like those tan houses back in the early 2019 in the 90s, but it's like not like that anymore. It's like definitely like more refined, creamy colors. Go check out Chris Loves Julia on Instagram and Jean Stouffer. I feel like those two really nail down the warm colors, like the beiges and the tans. They make it look so good that I want to paint my white cabinets like this creamy tan color. And then with colors too, green. Green is like everywhere. And like I like it because that's my favorite color, but it is everywhere. I mean, for Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore, and Behr, their color of the year is the shade of green. So if you do anything in green, that's on trend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
fascinating. The darker colors, because I feel like for so long, like every blogger, like Instagram is like white. So I'm really like interested to see what's all the black and dark trends.
So I must say that when I went into Home Depot for the emerald green color on my board and batten wall, like I had saw it on Pinterest with the gold, and I'm like, I want this because I think it'll look really cute with like the camel color that you had put in the design. So I was like, I really want this. And I could not find it, you know, because they have like the little display colors. And I'm like, I can't find it on there. Like I looked for like at least 30 minutes from like wall to wall to wall. Finally, I gave up and I told the lady and I just said, can you just match what's on my phone? I don't know if you could do that. And she was actually like, oh my gosh, no. Like like 3 other couples came in today looking for that exact same color. It's this one. Right. And so when she picked it up, I was like, but this doesn't look like the color on my phone. She goes, I promise you it is. So then surprisingly, I took it home. I painted it on the wall because I didn't buy the whole thing. I just bought a little tester. And it was in fact that same color, which is so crazy. So I guess a lot of people are like painting it green. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought I was the only crazy one, but other people are crazy with me.
And I feel like green even extends, like I'm seeing it extend just not into paint colors, but like furniture too. Like I'm seeing more people have like green sofas. And I think that's so cool.
Yeah. The Airbnb that we stayed in Minnesota last week when I was there was green. And it was comfortable, surprisingly, because it's like those like modern looking sofas with like the long legs, you know? So I didn't think it was going to be that comfortable, but surprisingly it was. It's crazy. Okay, Kelly, should we take a couple of questions from our audience members? I feel like we're not ignoring you. We just kind of kept going about our stuff. I promise. We had someone ask about lighting and rugs, which I think are 2 really, really important things. Because I felt like even my conversation with you with the rugs like really helped me on like my designs and stuff. And then also lighting. So let's go. Nikki Lore, same person asked, talk about rugs. And then her second question was lighting. How do I create the warm, cozy feeling with lighting?
So rugs. So with rugs, you got to apply the 2/3 rule here too. And I think most people get a rug that's just way too small. And with rugs, like let's say you have a living room, all of your legs, the legs of the furniture should at least be on the rug. So that let that be a guide for you. And depending on how big your living room is, I feel like a living room rug should not be any smaller than an 8x10. I really, really do. And if you can, like, if you can get all of the furniture to sit on the rug, I think that that is even better because then that really grounds the space. And then as far as rug design goes, that just really depends on your style and the style of your home. I mean, I think a vintage rug looks good in any space. I think it's modern to me, and you can put modern furniture on it. I have modern furniture on my vintage rug, and I love it. And then with lighting, how do I create that warm, cozy feeling with lighting? Dimmer, if you have that. And then, yeah, the bulbs, like they have like the 300K, 400K, and where's it, 5,000? I think it's 4,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 kelvins. Like, look at that. There's like the different brightness that a bulb gives off. And I like the 4,000, but that might be too harsh for some. I think the 3,000, that's the one that's like the typical light. So you have to think about like what type of like what doesn't hurt your eyes and what kind of mood you're going for. But I say if you're in an open area, like have the wattage be the same for all of the lights.
Mm-hmm.
And also with like creating like a warm, cozy feeling with lighting, going back to the living room, like have the lighting set at like different heights. So let's say you have a ceiling light. Well, what if you don't want to have the ceiling light on? Well, then you need a table lamp, or maybe you need like a floor lamp. Like different height lighting really adds to the warmth and the coziness.
Mm. Yeah, good tip. I like that. Mm-hmm. Any other ones you see, Kelly?
Maybe we can talk about just like, so August said, what kind of styles are out there? How can you find your style? Maybe we can talk a little bit about that, because I think for me, like when I have looked at different, like, books and stuff, I'm always like, ooh, like that looks nice, like a completely different, like modern looks nice. Like this other looks nice. Like they all look nice. And I think sometimes it's hard to be like, do I, like, what do I actually like?
Yeah. So I just have to go back to Pinterest again. Like, just start pinning everything that catches your eye and that you like. And then once you're done with that, like maybe just spend like 30 minutes, right? Like give yourself a cap, spend 30 minutes just doing that. And then after you do that, like sit down and review your photos. You're going to find patterns, whether that is like, oh crap, I like everything that's white, or like, oh, I really like this light stained wood, or like, oh, I pinned like every picture has like a blanket in it. You're going to find patterns, or like plants. I remember Olivia, like yours had lots of plants. So it's like, okay, that's all incorporated into your style. And just keep in mind, like, it's not gonna all, most of us are a mix of different styles together. So it's not just gonna be like one thing that you like, which is why I like the way that I like to describe my style is like just coming up with a word that kind of fits these patterns for me. So like cozy and comfort, that's like my style. Like, no, that's not an actual style in the sense like traditional or mid-century or modern, whatever. But I know what it means to me. And I know the things that I'm going to go buy so I can fit that style. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. I think that puts less pressure on like trying to be like, okay, this is all the stuff that I like versus something else.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything else. Oh, should we take highs? Let's see. So I asked, what do you think about stained cabinets? Everyone is painting their cabinets white. Will stained cabinets come back soon?
I think stained cabinets are still in. I'm still seeing that like light, that white oak cabinet, still seeing that that's still like going strong. And I'm still seeing like even in new builds, I still like the darker stain is even coming back. And I don't think stained will ever go out ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing about stained is like I love stained cabinetry. Like I wish I had stained all of my doors are painted black. I wish I had actually stained it black because I feel like stained wood is just so much more durable than painted.
Yeah. 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 My husband built a bench for my dining table and we stained it instead of painting it. And I love it. I do think it's very durable. It's been like we're going on year 2 and my kids sit on there every day. Grandparents sit on there every day. It's like use and abuse and it's still in pretty good shape. So
Absolutely.
all right. So obviously, like I can totally talk to everybody about my experience with you, but I think there's this question here is more of like what does that process look like? So when people are interested in working with you, what is your process? Do people have to completely like know what they want, or can they be off the wall like me? You know, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so like it's customized depending upon your need. And the first thing that would have to happen is like you reach out to me and we're gonna have a conversation, whether that's just back and forth in Messenger or we actually have a phone conversation. I want to talk to you so that I can know like what do you need help with? Like what rooms do you need help with? What types of things do you need help with? Is it just design or do you need some shopping help? Do you need me to help you create a product list? Would you need me to help you like install everything? What's the time frame that you're looking at? What's your budget? So that's what that initial conversation is really there for me to get a gauge of what you need help with, what your project looks like. And then from there, if we do decide to work together, then we're gonna have a contract. Like I have a contract that we go through together. And then I'm going to give you a list of like everything I need from you so that I can start designing on my end. And from there, it just really depends on like what I'm doing for you. Like with you, Olivia, it was like pure virtual design. So like I got everything I needed from you and I just went. And then I touched base with you. I don't remember if I touched base with you. I think I might have. Like midway through, I touched base with you. But the communication's open. Like my last client, like we talked every single day. Like there was just a lot. It was more in depth with her, but it was because of her project. Like she wanted me to help her find products. So it's like, that's why that initial conversation is just so important so that I know exactly what you need. And I know what I have to help you with. And then after that, like once the designing is done and once like if I have to create a product list for you and that's all done, I will send you everything. We'll wrap up. And I'm always open to questions after that. Even after the work is done, I'm still here. And no, people don't have to completely know what they want. Like you, Olivia, like you didn't know exactly what you wanted. And that's totally okay. That's why you're reaching out for help. And then with my last client, like she was very specific and clear on what she wanted. And I still like, but she still needed help like refining. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So we had some questions from the audience or from when we did our first post. And so I think that this is be a really great way for people to actually see like, what do you mean you are going to design something for me, right? Like what does that I think this is going to be a great way for people to kind of see what you will do for them. And so the first question was, I have one room that is supposed to be dining and living room in a small house for a family of 7. The space is not big enough to divide into 2 separate needs. I'm so stuck on how to place my couches and dining table. So clearly an open space and a small home. And so that's kind of the central theme of the question. So maybe you can kind of show us, you put something together.
Yes, I did. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Thank you, everyone, for answering Q's question on stain and painting. I love how supportive you guys are in explaining that, because there's a lot of new things that we learn with this topic of just, very different styles and ways to decorate and alter furniture pieces.
Okay, do you guys see?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's just go through this first. So what I did here is I created a layout, like a fake layout, because I don't know what this person's living room actually looks like. So you can see all of the dimensions here, and you see how much square footage is in this room. It's 266 square feet. And I actually Googled this, like, what is considered a small living room? And what was considered a small living room was 130 square feet, and what's considered a large living room is 300 square feet. So I was thinking, okay, it's going to be on the large, quote unquote, larger end if it's a dining room and a living room. So I even went under the 300 and did 266 square feet. So what I did here was I made the living area with the L sectional couch. And then if you guys can see, like, down by the opening of the picture, like, I did a counter height type of table just against the wall and had chairs there where people could eat at and sit at. And then just let me show, I'm going to show you just the 3D walkthrough of this place so you can get a better idea of what it looks like.
Oh yeah, I like that.
I love that visual. Like, I feel like that's what, I think that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Because when you walk into a space, like, I don't have an eye for these things. And so it's just like, all I see is a blank space. But I think having this really helps you to be like, oh, like that, I can now actually see how I need to, what things I need to get.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Space.
Yeah.
That
And you
is-
guys, this is what I'm saying. Like, when you look at Pinterest, it's awesome to get inspiration. But I think for me, like, I struggled because it's not in my space, and I feel like when you work with someone like Coua, they're able to design something, they're able to put it in 2D or 3D for you to, like, it's a visual that you can see, like, your space. And so I think that will hopefully, like, excite you and inspire you to, like, want to act and change your space up, right? Because I feel like just, like, seeing your designs, I'm like, I can totally see what my space can look like now, the potential it has, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And I think that's what I love about designing, like, because it's so easy for me to just walk into a room and really visualize, like, I would move this here, move that here. And, like, seeing a picture, like, I have that same thing going on in my head. But to be able to actually show someone that, like, this is really how your room could look like that's so fun, and that's so empowering for me. And with that, like, so her problem was with the table and the dining room and the living room being combined. So I just want to talk a little bit more about that. And we're going to go back to, like, rugs and lighting here again, right? So rugs and lighting, I think those two things always ground a room. And those two things are the things that, like, really distinguish, like, hey, this is the living room, or hey, this is the dining room here. And that really helps, especially in open concept homes. Like, I have an open concept home and I divide everything because there's different lighting in each section, and they're not all the same style. And I have different rugs in each of the room so that, like, I'm in the living room or I'm in the dining room.
Yeah. Rugs do make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So the second question from our guest, I see it's from Fuji. I do see a comment, so I don't know if Fuji is here with us, but this is a question from this person. It says, "Hello, ladies. I'm Fuji from Missouri. I've lived in my house for the past 3 years and have always been stuck on decorating my dining kitchen table wall. It's currently filled with my patio plants during the winter. My house decor is wood, natural colors, cozy, and a little bit of boho. I live with 5 boys, including my husband, so nothing girly or over the top. I would like to see some picture frames up on the wall, but unsure. anyways, suggestions are welcome. Thank you, Coua. And they sent a picture of kind of like what their home looked like before. So
Yes.
I don't know if you've prepared something to kind of help Fuji out here.
I did. So I did this. I designed this right here, and I try to make it like a mock-up of her kitchen, what I saw in the picture. Can you guys see this? First of all, I want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So then she said that she was boho. So I added the lights. I don't remember seeing any like a dining fixture in her picture, but if you're able to, Fuji, like get an electrician to come back in and have him wire in something for a chandelier, I think that will again help ground the space as the dining room space. And I didn't see that you had a rug either, so add in a rug. Keep your same table and chairs, like that all look really good. And then add the gallery wall. I think that would look so good in this space. And then use your plants as styling, as decor. And then I just added that little that buffet at the end there. And it just like really ties up that space. And I just did one more thing here too that I want to share. It would even look good. I think your space would even look good if you just did like 2 big pictures, if you didn't do a gallery.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Again, I think that goes back to like my original concern with you is like, I want to put pictures of my family up and, and I think that's the thing. It's like, it doesn't have to be pictures of your family. It could be like wall art of some sort,
Yeah.
I think that's like my biggest struggle is like, but I want family pictures. I've always had family pictures. That's all I've known is to put family pictures. And so I think you just made that suggestion and like kind of seeing like, any picture can be up there. It doesn't have to be just, of your family. I think
Absolutely.
that was an aha moment for me where I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, you even took some pictures off of like my pictures of just like trips that I've traveled and just like landscaping pictures that I took. And I'm like, I never even thought about blowing that up. And then of course, now that I know that, like I go to stores and I'm like, I see landscaping pictures freaking everywhere. Like, why? I'm just all of a sudden noticing this. It's so crazy.
Yes. And one other thing too I want to say about the dining room is like when you add your pictures, because I think the gallery wall would look so cool, to give it that extra touch, add in wall sconces on top. Like that's going to look so cool. And for that, like use the magic light trick. Like Google that, like that. It just looks so cool. And you don't need to have them wired in. And like the lights, they're just battery powered and it'll look so good shining down on the gallery wall.
Oh, that's a great tip.
Thank you so much.
One other thing too, like if you want to do the hutch, the other thing you could do there, and if you didn't want to do the gallery wall, you could do floating shelves in that area. It would look really good there too.
Yeah, more space to put your plants, y'all.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That kind of gives people just a little taste of what you could do for them. So if anybody wants to work with you, wants to follow your work, just stay connected, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, follow me on Facebook, CC Interiors, or follow me on Instagram, CC Interiors, or you can just type in my name, Coua Xiong, and you'll find me. Messenger on Facebook is like the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Anything else to add, Olivia? All right.
Thank you. Just that it's been amazing working with you, Coua, and I hope that people who are interested in your services do reach out. It's been so awesome. I've learned so much about just like decorating my own home and furniture placements and the rug rule and all that random stuff that no one would ever teach you. Like if and you can always look online, but you wouldn't really know what to look for, honestly. So
thank you guys for having me. This was such a fun conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for teaching us so much in the section today and just I think as you know, as we see just more of your work and you know, like helping us to make our homes beautiful, something that we were not taught growing up, but something that really does affect your energy and how you feel, and making that home into a place where you want to be and where your family
Absolutely.
can, you know, thrive in, just because we all do spend so much time in that space, in that home. And so thank you for everyone for tuning in today. Hopefully you got some nuggets that you can take back and start thinking about, you know, just your home, and how you can really make that feel like, you know, like authentic to who you are. And then just a little, I'm going to veer off a little bit. Of course, we did put out Finding Love, Looking for a Bachelor. And so Alim and I are going to come on next week and answer some questions, and just talk a little bit more about that next week. And so watch out for when we'll be coming on, and continue to, you know, share and tag anybody that's interested in that. And so, of course, here at All That Talk, we believe that conversations drive change, and change starts with you. Have a good night. We'll see you next time. Bye.